All right, let's bring in Jamie McLennan this morning. Noodles, do Oilers win? There's a lot to discuss from the hockey game last night. But let's just ask you a question we're asking everybody today. What do you think was the number one reason they ended up coming out on top last night? Who or what drove that team to a victory?
I think their depth actually did, and the fact that Knobloch, made Draisaitl miss a couple rotations. I thought that was huge because, it provided a little bit of accountability. I would say, I thought they deserved that win, and it is. I thought they were quiet early on, but they had some chances, and you hit some posts. What was it? 3 posts. Hyman's in alone, or in tight. He gets stopped. To me, they generated enough, but their top players haven't played well.
Yeah.
To a man. I mean, Ekholm doesn't look very good. Bouchard looks out to lunch. They score the goals near the end. I thought they got going. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, they're not sharp. They look like they're still in summer mode. So to me, the bottom of their roster has helped drag them up a little bit. And you could argue that Corey Perry fight maybe got them going a little bit too, because that got some life in the building. But it was a weird night. I didn't think the refs particularly had a strong night. I'm a big ref guy. I love the refs, but I thought there were some soft calls on both sides. Was it a missed call in overtime? I kind of thought, I didn't think the Draisaitl cross-check. I mean, it's a cross-check, but to me, there was some stuff where you probably could have let it go. But when you hand out 7 penalties to the Oilers, they were probably going to get a favorable bounce or non-call at some point. So there was a lot, but I guess your TSN or your turning point might have been the fight. But I still don't think the big boys are playing well enough. They're not very sharp right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The back-to-back tilts really got them into the emotion that we hadn't seen. Skinner gets run, took the bump, raced himself, took some contact. Stetcher fights Couturier right off the face-off. Corey Perry drops the mitts with Farabee. And the whole building, I think, I was watching at home last night. We went to the corn maze, and more on that later. But the building looked like it kind of got rocking at that point. But let's talk a little bit about, so Draisaitl takes a penalty. He had a bad penalty last game. Their big guys had not been going. I fully agree with you. And I think it's important to say that, the depth really got them back into that hockey game and got them going. What does it do early in the season when Knobloch does sit a guy from that leadership group just for a couple of shifts? Had him right back out there on the power play, ran with him the rest of the game. Draisaitl still played like 23 minutes, but took an opportunity. Leon was asked about it after the game, and he said, well, you have to ask him about it. And then Knobloch just kind of talked about how, as a team, they can't be taking penalties, but little bit of message sending right there, right?
It is. I mean, Knobloch doesn't have to come out and say, I did this because of this. All he did is he sent a message, and the message is within that bench. It's within that room. And, I'll say this, like, Chris Knobloch, he's a guy who's very poised behind the bench. Regardless of what's going on, he just kind of rolls with it. I thought they missed an opportunity to challenge that non-goal, the goalie interference, because Hyman goes through and he touches him, but it's actually the Philadelphia defenseman that hits the blocker.
More
of the
contact, yes, 100%.
I would have challenged that personally. I thought that was a miss. But, with what we've seen so far with the league, you have no idea what the hell's going on. So I'll just say this, like, sending messages, it can be done different ways. And to me, I like that from Knobloch, because he didn't make a big deal about Draisaitl. He just said, hey, you know what? You can't be taking poor penalties. Message received. We all know what it was about. But also, more importantly, Leon Draisaitl knows what it's all about. He knows he needs to be better in certain situations. I thought that was an undisciplined penalty by Zach Hyman, the elbow, too. That you could see the frustration in their game. It's not that they're not trying, because I thought Draisaitl's, there was a few shifts where he back-checked really hard, and he tried to be a difference maker. But, looking at McDavid, looking at Hyman, looking at Draisaitl, RNH is in second gear. I mean, he might as well be playing in a lawn chair right now. Like, he's got to get going too. So, when people say to me, are you worried about the Oilers? I say, no, I'm not, because if their big boys were playing well and they were losing, then I would say, now you've got a problem. But to a man, they're big boys, including Bouchard and Ekholm and Skinner. I thought Skinner made some big saves when he needed to, kind of locked it down. But, the message from Knobloch, I think it goes through the dressing room. It's like, hey, guys, let's get going here. You are going to miss some shifts if you're not at the top of your game.
Noodles, we talk about messaging too from Knobloch, and I know this city held its collective breath when Janmark was elevated to line 2 and Skinner was dropped to 3 last week. And we, oh my God, he was acquired in the offseason and he should be competing for top 6, if not top 3 minutes here. Just under 12 last night. He's got points in 3 straight now, 3 shots, a couple of hits. Had the assist last night. What are you kind of liking about his game, and what does he bring kind of to that third line as well, kind of going down, spending some time down there and adding some offensive push?
I think it's all about settling in. I think people forget that, Jeff Skinner's life, he's really had, you go from Carolina to Buffalo and then now into Edmonton. This is all new for him. And it's funny, I'll share a conversation I had with Warren Fogle the other day. I called the game on Monday, the LA-Ottawa game, and I got to see him afterwards. And I said to him, are you settling in? He goes, yeah, it takes time. He goes, there's a different system in LA than Edmonton. He goes, Edmonton was more puck possession. LA is chip and chase, So he said, there's an adjustment to everything. So it's not just, hey, your family has to find out where West Edmonton Mall is and where to eat. It's everything, settling into the habits, the practice, what the team likes and chemistry. So I think it's going to take these guys who are new a little bit of time to settle in. I like Skinner's game. People are talking about the Oilers being, they're older and slower. I think Skinner's a good skater. He's fine. If you're a good skater, you will be fine. Doesn't matter how old you are. To me, he's a guy who is going to see top 6 minutes, and I don't mind him moving around the lineup. I thought that was a beautiful pass yesterday. To me, he's usually a shoot first guy. But you could see him trying to use his line mates a little bit more and develop some chemistry. And I don't worry about a guy like Arvidsson. Arvidsson just plays. He knows exactly how to play. And if his sights were on a little bit, he probably would have a goal or two. He's been given some nice opportunities from Draisaitl, some good looks in the last couple games. But, I always try and tell people, and I know I'm getting long-winded here, but I just try and tell people when there's a new environment for guys, you not always do you just hit the ground running. It's going to take some time for these guys to be comfortable in their own skin in a new environment.
Noodles, the Michkov goal with the pushing of the pad while battling for the puck as a goaltender, what do you think of that one being allowed to stand?
I hate it because, what you're supposed to do is, it's called anchor yourself on the post. I did think Stu Skinner, being 6'4", 230, got pushed a little easy. I thought his balance was off. So to me, he kind of opened the door for that to happen. And I think that's why they got the call against them. But to me, if Skinner was holding tight and you could just see him get launched in, then you're like, okay, that's a push. But I almost felt like he felt the push and he kind of opened his leg to grab it with his hand. And by that time it was in the net.
Yeah.
So I could see where the argument was that allowed the goal, is that I think he opened the door for it. I'm 100% goalie hugger. You guys know that. I want all these goals disallowed just for the sake of the goalie. But there are instances where I felt that goal for the Oilers where Hyman had slight contact with the glove, but it was more the defense. That was a goal for me. I would have challenged that. It's the same thing with the goal against Skinner. There is contact, but I thought he was pretty soft on the play to open the door for that for the pad to be pushed, if that makes sense.
Speaking of goalies, Philip Gustafson scores last night. The first goaltender in Minnesota Wild history to do it, which surprised me because I always thought you buried one, right? One or two maybe. in Minnesota, but not the case.
So in this is dating myself, in 1997 or 8, maybe 90, yeah, I was in the minors playing for the Worcester Ice Cats, and I tried to score a goal. It was there was an empty net, it was a cross corner dump, and it came right back to the slot, and I grabbed it and I fired it, and I had good velocity on it. But my defenseman was skating backwards and turned into it, and I hit him right between the eyes with the puck. His name was Jamie Rivers.
Jamie Rivers, yes.
Yeah. So I gave Riv 6 stitches between the eyes. And the worst part is he was bumbling around. There was blood everywhere, and we were still defending. It was an empty net, so he was trying to block shots. I felt so bad. I never went for an empty netter ever again. I wasn't a guy who handled the puck very well. But I thought, okay, to hell with this. We got a 2-goal lead. I'm going to fire it right down the pike. And I hit him right between the eyes. Now, the silver lining for Rib is he got called up after the game. So he got 6 stitches and he got a call up after the game. So, it was a tough play. But watching that Guston goal, that was a legit goal. Like just like the Allmark goal a couple of years ago. Like these goalies are putting it down. They're firing it into the net.
Yeah, he got a lot on that one. That was good. We can't let you go without talking about the tribute last night to Johnny Gaudreau in the Columbus, Florida game. Just extremely well done. I thought that was terrific.
I watched it. You know what? I knew Johnny not like my friends in Calgary knew him, but we stayed in touch. We texted a little bit here and there. Every time I saw him, it was always a conversation. I got to spend some time with him at the All-Star game in Nashville. What a wonderful person. Matthew, I'd only met a few times, but I have one of my best friends, the godfather of my son, is really close with the family. And every time I talk about it or see it, like even last night, I was emotional, like goosebumps emotional. Yeah. I can't imagine the emotion going through Sean Monahan, who was so close with Johnny. And he scores the goal last night and points to the banner. Like it was so well done. The Florida Panthers showed a lot of class showing up with the Gatorade and the Skittles and stuff. I was sad that Matthew Tkachuk couldn't make it because Matthew was close with him. But such a devastating story on so many levels for the families. But really well done by the Blue Jackets and the Panthers and the league. You know what? The league is hurting because everybody had a piece of Johnny Gaudreau. That's how popular he was with his teammates and throughout the league. So it's, you know what? It'll be the year of Johnny and the year of Matthew and the year of the Gaudreaus. But it was certainly emotional last night.
Well said, Noodles. We'll catch up next week, man.
You bet. Thanks for having me.